When it comes to cartridges, they are probably one of Nintendo's defining features. I mean, heck, most of Nintendo's consoles accept cartridges for their games in some way, shape, or form. I mean, they are even continuing to this day with their most current console to switch to using cartridges, albeit they are a shell of their former self, but you get the idea. And it is interesting because Nintendo has, well, been heavily criticized in the past for continuing to use cartridges due to their high price point, such as, of course, with the fact that Sony, for the original PlayStation, used disc-based optical media, being that it was cheaper, but it was slower. So with that being said, why don't we see what's inside of all of these Nintendo cartridges, see what exactly makes them tick inside. And let me tell you, there are a lot, so we better get started with the first one, being, of course, the NES. Alright, so when it comes to the NES, besides being the, well, saving grace for the game market, it's interesting because it kind of was a downfall with the original Nintendo Entertainment Systems where you put it in, you pressed it down, and it ruined the pins on not just basically the games, but less of the games, but mainly the console, and you had to replay that, and you got the blinking red light of death on your NES, but later, consoles, you just stuck it in the top, and, there you go. I guess a bit of the spoilers for this one is, if you didn't know, Famicom games are, like games from, North America, or I guess vice versa. And so basically, I can tell you right now that you're going to notice the circuit board is going to be about up to this height right here, and all this empty space is basically real estate where you can, I don't know, hide an additional game in there. Yeah, another interesting fact actually is you can actually find, actually no, this extra space in here actually could be used for something, such as, well, we'll actually get into that. We'll get into that. Well, let's open up the game first. You are going to need a game bit screwdriver. Alright, yeah, that last screw was pretty challenging to say the least. This one's a bit interesting because you got a bit of tabs here you got to be a little cautious of when you take it off. We'll go ahead and remove the front panel. As you can see right there, there is a save battery on here, and also some, I'm pretty sure those are resistors. I'm actually fine with people correcting me in the comments regarding that. It is interesting because I didn't realize, maybe it's been a while since I've opened up a game, because there's a game we'll get into later on that I was surprised they had resistors. But it looks like that tends to be quite common for a lot of these games. You can kind of see it's wobbling back and forth right there. But as you can see, comparing it to a Famicom cartridge, we overlap that with that right there. Yeah, that's basically what you're going to see inside of there. Now, not every game is going to have a save battery. The reason why I picked Star Tropics 2, Zoda's Revenge, or Zoda's Revenge Star Tropics 2 is because this is an RPG-esque adventure game, and there's a save battery there, so you're going to be able to save your data. Eventually that will die, but it's likely this is still working, and I did just test this not too long ago, and it was working just fine. And you got, your ROM in here, you've got your extra memory for your video RAM, stuff like that, all sorts of fun stuff. Flipping over, of course, you're not going to see really too much underneath. Just kind of some soldering, just some bubbles, some metal prongs right there. Now, one thing I will say as well is inside of a Famicom cartridge, these are a lot harder to open up. So that's why we're not going to be taking a look at that, because it's basically, what's inside of here. Yeah, we're going to move on to the next system now. Alright, so the Game Boy, Nintendo's first portable handheld that accepted cartridges. While it was technically weaker in some senses of the NES, it was actually powerful in some ways as well. Now, I guess a bit of a spoiler, because I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen the inside of a Game Boy game before, being the fact that, Game Boy Color games are the ones that you can't have a little divot in, and the ones that's sticking out right here, have a see-through shell. As you can see, there is a save battery inside of that one right there. There are some Game Boy games without save batteries. This one I know is going to probably have a save battery. Pretty sure, both of these work, but hey, there's what your Game Boy Color looks like. I'm not going to show that off because we're going to be turning a Game Boy game, because it's essentially the same thing. Now, when it comes to the game bit for this one, I believe the one for the NES works just fine. Might have a bit of a little more trouble than the other one, even though there's 3 screws were in that one. But all right, there we go. It is a bit nicer that these only are held by 1 screw, and this just simply slides off down like that. I don't know why it's a little stuck right there, but this is the yellow Donkey Kong Land 1, it's Japanese. It should say Land 2. Was North American version. As you can see, another save battery right there. You know, we've got our chips, our ROM, our, you know, special graphics processing units. As you can see, these save batteries are a bit different compared to the NES ones. I think these are more like a watch battery-esque one. But yeah, once again, these will die eventually. Oh, no, I just noticed there's a resistor on there. So I'm probably saying those names wrong. Capacitor, resistor, you know, feel free to correct me because I didn't even realize those were on these mini cartridges. But it does make you wonder, you know, if those fail eventually, what's going to fail in all these games? The save battery, I'm sure, is going to be the first thing because it's battery operated. But take this out. Yeah, there's the back of the schematics right there. I mean, it's kind of fitting being green, a green masterful mess. The original Game Boy was a good mess, But this, I mean, honestly, nothing too much to say about that. I literally just got that hinge stuck right there. Check that out, slide back on. Probably, you know, this is one thing I like about Game Boy games. Probably the easiest games to not only take apart, but like put back together, because I can literally commentate over top of this, unlike the NES one where I had to like sit down, try to find, you know, how specifically each like hinge went on, and put those, you know, 3 screws in. But, you know, there we go. Bada bing, bada boom. That's good to go. Moving on to the next game. Okay, so the Super Famicom and the Super Nintendo, and as you can see, these game cartridges they're similar, but they're also different. Like, they're really not, like, that different, but you can see there is certainly differences. You know, they're both gray. One's a lighter hue of gray, the other's darker. I kind of like this one a little bit more than North American, or I guess, you know, the rest of the world. You know, this is Japan's cartridge. We're only going to be looking inside of the SNES one because, well, I don't feel like going through a living nightmare. And what's interesting is the screws, I was thinking, oh, where the heck are they? They're actually on the front. Now, the only difference between these two games is there is a bit of region lock in Game Boy games to have that. I forgot to mention that. Is there are some tabs that are a bit different here. And as a result, you cannot play Japanese games on North American consoles unless you rip out some tabs. Or I should say that's on the console itself, unless you rip out the tabs. So that's the only region lock. You can play these games just fine natively. I believe this should work. Yeah, this is the same game bit right here. I should have probably mentioned it ahead of time what it is. Let's see really quick what it is. It says 3.8 on there. These you usually can find pretty easily on Amazon. I believe I got these for only a couple of bucks, but it was like a set. I'm pretty sure the other one I used for N64, but this one, you know, we're chugging along. We're taking the screws out. Let's just cut to the montage then. And we are inside, and we do have kind of a bit of a, I don't want to say really clip action right there. But, you know, we got Mario Paint. I thought it had a save battery, but as you can see, the cartridge is flipped, you know, that way. This is a game we haven't seen on Nintendo Switch Online yet, or I guess Nintendo Classics as they're calling it now, but I'm sure it will be there eventually. Now, the save battery is an interesting one to where you don't really need it in this day and age if you have a capture card, and I say that because you can just take a video of what you paint, because it's kind of useless in this. Maybe it saves your scores for the NET game. I'm not 100% sure. But those I know are the ROMs in a sense, because I remember they have like little holes for using UV light to delete the ROMs and stuff like that. Although it looks like they are sealed up because this is a what do you call it? Like a, you know, production or retail unit. Lots of capacitors, resistors all over this. So, you know, once again, nothing too different there. We've already seen the back right there, but another save battery-esque game. Not every game's going to have that. That Mega Man 7 or Rockman 7 game, I'm sure it's not going to have that. Uses a password system. Because honestly, Mario Paint, it probably didn't even need a save battery. You know, I wonder, imagine how things would have been different for Mario Paint if, you know, the batteries weren't there. I don't know. I mean, Nintendo literally encouraged you back in the day to use a VHS. Like, they encouraged you to record gameplay back in the day. So it's kind of crazy that they were kind of cracked downy on that, hypocritical, and then, you know, later on they're like, oh, you know, we'll allow people to make, you know, YouTube footage and stuff like that again. So, yeah, let's move on to the next game then, shall we? Ah, yes, the Virtual Boy. How many of you can say you actually touched one of these cartridges? Well, I can definitely say that. Yeah, this system sold under 1 million units. I heard something about apparently the creator of Tetris, which I do have that, but I don't have it on hand at the moment, claims they sold 1 million units of Tetris on the Virtual Boy, which I can't say I believe that too much, but I guess that was the case. I don't know. Nintendo, they're weird with their sales numbers. I don't think they're the most transparent like you might think they are. As in the case where they did sell, 3.5 million units to Switch 2, but I don't know. Yeah, here we are. I tried to use the different game bit screwdriver. I'm pretty sure this same game bit still works from the Game Boy and the NES. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just do this really quick. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this game didn't really cost me a lot anyways. It was like $5, even though there's almost none out there. There really isn't a lot of demand. It's like, oh yeah, guys, look. Well, actually, I'm not going to bring that up because that might make it some weird discussion, but I don't know, some random thing on my desk like this, I don't know, this clip holder thing with games inside of it. No, there's no demand out there, but for it as far as I'm aware. Maybe there is, but I'm talking about this without even doing a montage because, whatever, we're pretty close. Now, this doesn't even have a dust cover on it, I just noticed. I guess they lost it or something. There's a lot of games, I know that, Game Boy, for example, had, dust cover cases, and they kind of cheaped out with Game Boy Color, but anyways, let's open Galactic Pinball right up. Funny enough, this is actually the only official Metroid material on the Virtual Boy. There's a Samus ship in there, but you'll have to discover that yourself. We flip this around. It's another game that's flipped around, as you can see. We do have another save battery there. It's Game Boy-esque. Funny enough, because, Gunpei Yokoi did, work on this as well. Now, what's interesting as well is actually, I was going to show Mario Clash, but that one actually doesn't have a save battery, which is weird, because you think it would, because that game's 99 floors or something. And as for why Virtual Pinball needs a save battery, I guess they really wanted you to save your high scores. Well, it makes sense why, another reason for Mario Paint to have that, because it saved your Fly game high scores. But, you've got your all kinds of fun stuff on there. There is also a capacitor, which I was surprised there was only, just even one on this. But as we saw with, a Super Nintendo game, there's, 5 on there. So, yeah, nothing honestly too crazy with a Virtual Boy game, as I slam that down and probably kill your guys' ears. But we'll move on to the next system then. Okay, N64. Yeah, I expect there's still going to be a save battery in this. There is actually another method these games can save through, just because this is when Nintendo started to actually use flash memory. You might notice something a bit interesting. Wow, that same game bit, it's still working. Wow. Yeah, that's because the other one actually is meant for consoles to open up, because Nintendo, I don't know, but yeah, the 3-point, this one's pretty important. Don't lose this. I actually lost both of these game bits at one point. This is a 4.5, and that sucked because I couldn't open these cartridges, and I had a field day with making videos, very limited videos. I only had my tri-wing screwdriver, but yeah, we're gonna cut to the montage and open this up. Which I more cut the video, because there really wasn't anything a whole lot to this, but we're not actually done yet, because if we open this up, you'll see what I mean here. Whoa, what is this? There's a protective sleeve on my Nintendo 64 game? Yeah, I don't know if this is something, because I remember with the Virtual Boy, Nintendo wanted to have some kind of protective case to prevent, I don't know, unexpected radiation or something, because the Virtual Boy was rushed out to the market and they didn't want to, I don't know, risk stuff happening to their consumers. So yeah, but this is literally just a Phillips screwdriver. Pretty simple, go from there, and look at that, we have lifted. Wait, why is that not lifting off? We have lifted that metal casing off. What is going on there? There's some tabs on here or something. Okay, here we go. And this actually doesn't have a save battery, but there are some games that do have save batteries. I believe Mario 64 does. And if a game doesn't have onboard memory, which this one does, you need to use a memory card, which I'll be honest, I have this, but I'm pretty sure I've never actually used this. I think Excitebike 64 is one of the games that uses it. Yeah, have a field day comment section as for why half it's yellow, the other one's yellow. Your memory card's nasty! Oh yeah, well your freaking low effort comment's nasty. Yeah, I don't think, and there's like a little rubber kind of sleeve in the back there, and also the metal shell, you know, it pops out too. So, you know, that's kind of freaking neat. As for why Nintendo put that on there, hard to really say because I can't really think of anything that would be on here that isn't on any other Nintendo cartridge. Maybe because the flash memory is new or something. That could be it. Which I think the flash memory on here, I think it's actually that right there, that little tiny bugger. But I could be wrong about that, because once again, I'm pretty sure that's the ROM, because I see like the MX, I'm pretty sure like when we get to Switch games, pretty sure that literally says the same thing, but yeah, nothing too crazy. Once again, another resistor on an N64 game. I don't know why I thought that was like foreign. I guess I hadn't opened games up in so long. I almost put that back in incorrectly. In fact, it's funny, I don't like to open up N64 games, mainly because, well, another fun fact about region locking with this crap is, yeah, these games are technically not region locked, but through physical hardware like SNES, so the console itself is going to need to be modded if you're trying to play Japanese games on an NTSC console, as in you need to, like, not even rip out tabs, you need to, like, replace these gray pieces inside the console completely, or some people, I guess, just break them, which I don't judge, but I'm sure a lot of other people out there will judge, so I bet people will judge me for not judging, so that's kind of funny, but yeah, but I got sick of it, and I ended up replacing my gray pieces inside of the console, because I remember you can actually take the time to do exactly what we're doing here. Take this off, take the circuit board and move it into an NTSC shell, because it is slightly different from, you know, I'll actually just grab one really quick and show you what I'm talking about. Alright, here is F0X, and as you can see here, I guess it isn't. I guess because we don't have this assembled, it's kind of a little hard to show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, actually, no. This is a good example. So on the back of the cartridge right here, see there's little divots for the North American, you know, F0X. That probably looks terrible to some of you commenters. There's a little divot right here on the Japanese one, so they're in different spots. So yeah, if you would like to get the board, you know, flip-flopped, you can do that. But it looks weird because, you know, imagine Kirby 64 being side of F0X. You know, that doesn't look. That doesn't seem right, to say the least, so, yeah, we'll go on from here, and I'll cut this off camera. Alright, Game Boy Advance, here we go. We're actually moving on to a new medium, being the tri-wing screwdriver. Now, while Nintendo's home consoles didn't actually have technically a physical cartridge, I guess the memory card counts, but disc system-wise for game playing, yeah, everything was packed inside here. But anyways, what's interesting is Nintendo did still use save batteries in some way, as I did show off with Wario Land 4 right there. I could show a picture on screen of me opening that, or a video I should say. But there are some games that do still use use flash memory, kind of like N64, as you can see they're right there. I'm not exactly sure why Nintendo decided to use, you know, save batteries, and I guess we could just open it up for the sake of, you know, opening up, because some people tried to say that Pokemon games only had batteries for clock-based events. No. Wario Land 4 uses it for saving. Like, if this battery was removed, all the saves are going to be lost, you know, and so on forth. No, it is not just the Pokemon games Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald that use it for clock-based events. It is Pokemon, and I remember I tried to correct those people, and they didn't believe me, and they kept, you know, going on being in denial. So hopefully you learned some fun fact today that some Game Boy Advance games use, I'm not sure I shut that up, flash memory, and then other ones use save battery. Wow, the more you know. Okay, so the Nintendo DS was kind of my, like, first Nintendo console that I actually went pretty crazy with. Like, I may have started with the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance, but, like, it has a freaking Game Boy Advance slot for Game Boy games. It's got a DS slot for DS games. So DS Lite, huge part of my childhood. More than Game Boy. I definitely used it more than Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, but it was also my first console I actually owned. But, you know, getting way off topic there, let's talk about getting inside of a DS game. And I have Lego Battles here, which I never actually played. So I heard it's a good game, but I have played Lego Battles Ninjago. I feel old knowing that this was 13 years ago I first played this. This is a great game, though. This came after Lego Battles. We're here to talk about this and open this up. I got this for only a couple of bucks. This was actually the first game that I had a bit of a challenging time to get open, but I did already open it off camera. It's interesting because, as you can see, you've got like the little, you know, like teeth there. This is one that's still intact, and then you can just lift it up, and then, oh, it's kind of an illusion. The teeth, oh, careful there. The teeth are right there, and as you can see, as it focuses, we have two chips on here. One I'm assuming is the ROM, and the other is a chip for assistance with the game. But nothing too crazy in here. I always think it is interesting how, you know, the smaller and smaller we get. You know, we go from like Game Boy, which those honestly look kind of big. Game Boy Advance, I guess those also look kind of big. And now we have DS, which, you know, they're like SD cards. And it's honestly not too far from that, I guess, with Switch. This is like the big SD card. You know how there's like the micro SD cards? The Switch games are like micro SD cards, and the DS games are like big SD cards. But you know what? That's DS games. Not really too much to say about that. Less time to talk about this than the time it frickin' took, which was like almost 30 minutes to frickin' open this up because I didn't have the proper tools. Moving on. Nintendo 3DS. A really revolutionary system. Now, these cartridges are obviously pretty similar to DS. They're a little bit bigger, as in like they've got a nub hanging out on the side. And of course, besides, you know, the obvious color difference. I mean, there were some DS games that were different colored, such as Pokemon Black and White were a darker black color, which actually, fun fact, those darker black colored ones are actually games that indicate that they're DSi-esque games. So maybe I should open, you know, a DSi one up and see what kind of sensor is in there. I'm adding more content at the end of this video, I guess, as a bonus, so we'll go with that as my phone buzzes in the video. But because I'm sure there's some kind of IR sensor in that, because there usually is. We're going to look at Asphalt 3D, a 3DS game I got for $1. So let's see what's in here. Is there anything inside of that nub part? No, there's not. You know, besides, of course, this being just really a thing to keep you from putting it inside, you know, the DS system, which it's already having issues to begin with. Yeah, this one was by far the game that took the longest to open up. So, yeah, as you can see here, we have a similar structure to a DS board, you know, but the chip is a lot larger. If you turn it on its side, you can see it's got the same, like, assistance chip there. It has a larger, you know, ROM chip for memory. Honestly, nothing too crazy on the outside besides I can see Asphalt 3D's teeth are pretty dirty. This, I'm pretty sure, was like a launch title game. And I, like, barely touched 3DS launch title stuff. Nintendogs are probably at most my favorite. I do have Steel Diver, but I haven't actually touched it. Maybe I should check it out. The 3DS, I love the system. It's too bad that it didn't do good at first. And Nintendo kind of dropped it like a rock in 2020. But, okay. Yeah. Moving on. Nintendo Switch. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this console. Like, I think it's a fantastic console. But it's just so bland and just, ugh. It's the taste of it is like the same taste as it is of these cartridges. Now, these cartridges are a bit of an interesting thing. There's some key differences when it comes to these. Let me see if I have one nearby. Yeah, here we go. So we have Ring Fit here. As you can see here, there's like a green kind of texture there. Those green ones mean, I believe, that these are like 2 or 4 gigabytes, which is interesting because I thought Ring Fit Adventure was like a larger game. When you see like this green texture, you know, in a Switch game, that means it's a smaller size game. I probably have that wrong, but if I do, grill me in the comments, I guess. I'm allowing you to do that. But this game, which I don't even think I've played this game once, Super Lucky Tale, was surprisingly the easiest thing to just open. I think it's become a little loose now. Yeah, so what's interesting is, once again, we can see the teeth there showing up underneath, which that's a part of the board. It's funny because every Switch game kind of makes that crinkle clacking sound. We can see that, wow, that was literally the whole cartridge. What you were seeing there was the cartridge. And yeah, this is just literally like a ROM chip on a stick. And I guess fun fact about these cartridges, similar to, you know, 3DS people apparently say, which I don't know how true this is, but apparently Switch games and 3DS games have a finite amount of times you can stick them in the console, take them out, before they go bad and you can't use them anymore. I'm not sure if that's the case with 3DS games. I mean, it might make sense considering they're both, you know, NOM, those manufacturers. I think it actually says on this chip. NOM. No, I'm not seeing that. But I do know it says on the back of Switch and later 3DS systems. I would say later 3DS games definitely have that issue. So something like Asphalt 3D probably won't have that issue where, you know, the more times you stick it into the console, take it out, you know, it's probably like, someone said like 500 before, but I highly doubt that's an actual accurate number. It's really nothing to worry about because it's never going to happen during our lifetime, most likely. If it does, probably only expect it to happen with a few of your games and all of your games, but, you know, just because something to concern about your technology. I mean, really just basic things in general take care of things. If you're going to open up games like these, ground yourself, you know, touch metal, wear a strap, don't step on your games, don't let your dog eat them, don't throw them in a bathtub, don't put them in outside, store them in a, you know, air-conditioned area, don't leave them in a hot area, don't leave them in a cold area, you know, have the heat on, that kind of stuff. So if you're poor, they're probably not going to be destroyed. They're probably not going to be working as good, and then they will be destroyed. It's like, it'll be like a couple year cycle, and then, I don't know, then again, Zelda 2 was found in a barn working just fine like 40 years later or something, so I don't know, I'm going way too much of a freaking tangent, but anyways, we get to the big one. And I literally just freaking bought this just for the sake of this video, so hope you're happy, because I don't think I'm ever going to buy a freaking game key card again, so let's see what's inside of the nothing. I don't like it, you don't like it, your mom doesn't like it, your brother doesn't like it. Yeah, game key cards and Nintendo Switch 2. Any game that is under 64 gigabytes are going to be on this size. So yeah, there are third-party games like Cyberpunk that are on the full game, but just due to pricing and all sorts of stuff and now industry standard, which who knew Nintendo was setting the industry standard? Wow, yeah, who knew a company that literally pioneered gaming when it was on the brink of destruction is now doing this crap. Yeah, thanks a lot, Nintendo. Okay, but that aside though, yeah, I'm not happy about it, you're not happy about it. Probably you're clicking off this video because you're probably tired of hearing about, not happy about hearing about this, but I've never played Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S. This is the cheapest game I could find for under $30 because I don't want to spend a bunch of money for a game that isn't actually on the cartridge, just a license. It reminds me of like one of those USB flash drives for like, I don't know, freaking virus software, but like, you don't see your, you know, antivirus software people freaking out over keys of that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just probably saying that's probably taking somebody out, but yeah, unfortunately, this is the future standard. I remember saying that physical games, which this isn't really a physical game. It's, you know, how is this? How is this? This is like 2% better than like a game code inside of a box. So at least Nintendo's still making the physical games, but this is actually my first, like, I don't know if I want to call it physical Switch 2 game, which look at that sea of red in there with like nothing in there, but yeah, I bought this just for this video, so hopefully you're all happy. And not only that as well, I took like 3 months to record this part, you know, starting from the DS part up to here. If you notice why things are different, and that's because I don't know, I got tired, and I guess coincidentally it was fate that I wait for the Switch 2 launch, because it's alright now. People are going to be calling me out for not opening up a Switch 2 game, and I'm doing it right here. I'm doing it right now. So I hope you're happy. I really hope you are. Super thanks or something. No, I don't actually do that, but yeah. So here we have the Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S. What a name game. You know, the big thing that upsets me, the fact that this is not a game key card. Why the heck is this rated E10? What is somebody getting slapped in this or something? What does it say on? Does it say why? Suggestive themes. Okay. Alright, so, moment of truth. What is inside of a game key card that's in its all red blinding glory? Well, took a little bit longer to open up. It is just literally a Switch cartridge. I honestly don't think Switch cartridges are, like, the greatest. Like, I'll be honest, to begin with, I didn't think they didn't really feel like a physical game to begin with. Because come on, if you look inside, and this is just like the original Switch, I don't have the case near me. Look inside this. There's nothing in here. Yeah, there's like little flaps for like a little paper or something to go in there. But it's like this, you know, we're slowly falling off for physical games. There's no longer manuals. Honestly, physical games have been dead, like the true physical games, for a long time. I never really saw like Switch games too much as like a physical game, but as you can see in here, there is not really too much difference. The Switch 2 one is on the left, the game key card I should say, and the Switch 1 is on the right. Now there is a bit more text. It's probably going to be hard to see this, especially when this camera's not focusing like at all. But there's a bit more text for the one that, you know, is an actual cartridge, and then this one is just like a couple of SKUs and like numbers or something. Probably shouldn't be showing that, but whatever. Yeah, so this isn't really anything special. It's just literally a Switch cartridge with like, you know, a code on there to say, hey, we allow you to download the game. And the worst part about these freaking things as well is like, you like need to have this game inside of here, or this cartridge inside, to actually be able to play the game. Like, it kind of reminds me, Nintendo, it's funny how much they're copying off PlayStation. Granted, PlayStation games actually have the full game on there, but it has a similar idea to where, like, you put the game in the system, or the cartridge in the system, it downloads the necessary data, and, you know, you can play it then, but if you take it out, you can't play it because this is, like, the key card to do it. So it's like, okay, but, alright, so, yeah, that was inside of every single Nintendo game cartridge. There are some more obscure ones out there that maybe if you like this video, I could make a follow-up video for this. I did have some fun doing this, but I have opened up these game, you know, cartridges before. First time for the Switch one, I will say, like, that was actually pretty easy to open. But with that being said, then, hope you will have a great rest of your night and day time zone, and I will see you all later. Let's hope that the future of physical games becomes a bit of a more brighter one.